Hello, my name's Jamil Wilson, and I'm the 2021 North American Rolex Scholar of the Our World Underwater Scholarship Society. Enjoy! Thank you for joining me. My scholarship year journey thus far has been full of amazing adventures, tough challenges, victories, failures, laughs, lessons learned, and most of all, adversity. As the first African American scholar, I have to say adversity has been a prevalent part of my life, but this can take on a whole new meaning when you're trying to travel in the midst of a global pandemic. Still, I'm so lucky and humble that I get to be part of such an awesome opportunity. I've been able to work with some amazing people, including leaders in diving, research, archaeology, and education. I've even gotten to work with underwater photographers, conservationists, and medical dive professionals. Not to mention, I've gotten to travel to some amazing places and experience so much more of the world than I would have otherwise, from the cold of the Antarctic to the tropics of Tahiti and Moorea. But you might be asking yourself, so what? What does all of that mean? And more importantly, what have I gained from it? To answer these questions, I think it's important to look back at some of the most impactful parts of my journey to uncover how these experiences challenged me, changed me, and contributed to my growth. One of the challenges I faced during my year was learning how to manage and use my underwater camera gear. With my prior lack of video and photo etiquette, my skills needed work. Though there were several people that were able to assist me along the way, I really improved my camera skills with the help of Backscatter and Reef Photo and Video. Both entities aided me in learning how to operate the different functions of my camera and utilize certain techniques to improve my shots. Through them, I was able to better use my camera as a window for others to connect with the possibilities of the underwater world. One of those possibilities is using underwater photos and videos as a tool for research, which for me became an essential part of my journey to La Ventana, Mexico, where I got to work with former 2010 scholar Joshua Stewart on Monk's devil rays. Our goal was to investigate why these particular species of ray gather in huge aggregations, seeing that it is one of the only rays that exhibit this group behavior. We were able to do some basic surveying by evaluating size and sex, visually tagging to estimate abundance, as well as using acoustic tagging to better understand whether the aggregations stay together and whether they are linked to nearby nursery grounds. As a former freshwater invertebrate biologist, this was an important stepping stone for me as it was my first time doing research with marine vertebrates. This was also my first time working within a large team, which proved to be a bit of a challenge for me. With no prior experience in this realm of study, I struggled at first to navigate where I fit in, but after some trial and error, as well as with some help from Josh, I was finally able to find my footing and not only learn how to tag subjects and fly a drone for the first time, but I also learned how to work better in a team. Another great research project that I was lucky to participate in took place in a nature reserve known as Bahia Bustamante in Argentina, where I got my first taste of how to combine my research interests with real community outreach and education. During my time there, I was lucky enough to work with Gonzalo Bravo and a small group of others that were part of an NGO known as Proyecto Sub. Our goal was to collect and obtain a physical and photo repository of algae samples that were to be separated and identified. As a former up-and-coming phycologist myself, I was able to compare notes with Paula, who was the lead taxonomist of the group, and together we got to investigate the different algae we were looking at. After we isolated the different species, we later used the samples collected as artwork to serve as interactive components for the various kids and adults who were visiting the reserve. We put on several presentations to educate them on the beauty and ecological importance of algae. It was absolutely awesome to be working with such a curious and passionate group, not to mention how cool it was to dispel some of the kids' misconceptions that I was a part-time rapper by letting them know that I was actually a former opera singer. On that note, one of the most important goals for my scholarship year was to promote as much representation and diversity in underwater-related fields as possible. Thus, I was more than excited to be invited as a member of the National Association of Black Scuba Divers, or NABS, to participate in the recovery of the once lost plane which belonged to Tuskegee Airman Frank Moody. The project was led by the Michigan Department of Natural Resources archaeologist Wayne Lusardi in tandem with NABS and Diving with a Purpose. Participating in this project was truly an honor, as it is because of the African Americans before me, like the Tuskegee Airmen, who stood and fought for our right to simply be treated as humans that allow for me to be where I am today. In part, I owe all of my successes to them. With this in mind, I set out to Michigan and began my experience joining up with Brian Smith for a day. Besides being a member of NABS himself, Brian also runs the Tuskegee Airmen Museum in Detroit and naturally was invested in the project. Thanks to his involvement, we were able to head over to the hangars and the museum to observe the historical pictures, outfits, planes, and remaining tokens of the Tuskegee Airmen. However, the highlight was when Brian invited me to participate in a program where he helps teach local minority groups how to build and launch their own rocket. I was blown away by the smiles and fun these kids were having. It was such a special moment that only intensified my resolve to develop more diversity in programs like this one. When we finally made it to the site, we immediately got to work. Words could not explain the feeling I had being able to help discover, tag, and bring up different artifacts, which included all 4 of the plane's gunships. During my time there, I was able to learn about underwater trilateration, navigation, and use a plethora of search and recovery methods. After our last day of excavating, a ceremony was held in which a monument was erected to honor the airmen in light of the work that we had done. To say I was proud was an understatement, as it was truly a magical and amazing experience from which I learned the importance of community, sacrifice, and resolve in the face of adversity. Speaking of which, I would come to face some adversity of my own during my next adventure participating in a rapid-fire freediving course. Though it was not something I had considered prior, after being invited by former scholar Leah Potts to try it with her, I quickly became excited at the prospect and joined her and 2 others. Under the tutelage of the incredible Virgil Price, we started out our training in Stuart, Florida with breathing techniques, skills, and then began working our way to 3-minute apneas, or underwater breath holds. Unfortunately, after failing to reach the 3 minutes and needing to repeat some of the exercises, I soon came to realize that I was the weakest in the bunch. I tried to practice later on my own, only to find that it was just getting worse. By the time we made it to the ocean to do our 60-foot dives, I was worried. In order to pass the class, we needed to reach 80 feet, but upon my first attempt, I couldn't even make it down to 60. I was seriously starting to doubt myself, and I asked Virgil for help. Like any good teacher, he simply told me to relax and breathe. Though I felt the advice was obvious, I took it anyway and let go of my worries. And when it was my turn again, I took a deep breath and swam, determined to reach my goal. When I finally touched the bottom plate and came back up, I was completely astounded. From that moment forward, I kept the same focus and made a personal best of 100 feet, passing the course and even advancing to the rescue diver course. I couldn't believe what I had accomplished, and I was so thankful for all the support from everyone around me. It was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. Through it, though, I learned a valuable lesson about how to believe in myself, even when victory seemed impossible. In the future, my goal is to pass this lesson on to others, especially for fellow minorities who, like me, once struggled to believe in the impossible. While I was smitten with my success in freediving, it's still important to note that confidence and belief don't inherently produce success on the first try. Sometimes the best way to succeed is to fail. This was an important lesson I discovered in my cave diving course during my time in the Bahamas with the legendary Christina Zanato. Upon meeting Christina, I got to know much about her. She was brave, caring, passionate, and was someone you couldn't help but to admire. I could tell that she fought tirelessly for what she believed in. In that same sense, though, Christina could also be fierce and brutally honest. It was something that I really liked, however, about her, and something that made her stand out as we started our course. To begin cave diving, I first had to learn side mount. Though I had been okay with single tanks in open water, I had some trouble trying to keep buoyancy and trim with 2 tanks now on either side of me. It took a while to get used to, but after lots of drills and practice, I started to get the hang of things. Once I had a decent grasp on side mounts, we moved to cave work, which was really where the trouble started. Now, not only was I trying to stay cognizant of my side mounts, but I was also trying to keep track of all the new things I was learning too about caves. Though there were many things that I did well and improved on, there were also many other things to be mindful of that I was overwhelmed by, and sadly, it showed. At times, both Christina and I would get frustrated at my performance. It was rough, but despite all my doubts and frustrations, Christina was also sure to remind me that she had worked with many students in her life, and that though I was having some troubles now, all I needed in order to get out of my own head was time and practice. Even if things weren't going perfectly now, it didn't mean I wasn't worthy, capable, or competent. She reminded me that it's okay to take the time to get better. Rome, as they say, was not built in a day. I was so thankful for Christina's guidance while I was there, and at the end of our time together, I ended up with my side mount certification, my cave apprentice, and a new lesson about adversity that I hope to share with others on how failure is not the end, but rather the beginning step toward success. One of the last and perhaps most influential experiences during my scholarship year took me to Cape Town, South Africa. Though I had initially ventured into South Africa to partake in octopus research, I was able to do so much more there, including gain my dive masters, my assistant instructors, and most importantly, do a lot of outreach. I started out my time in South Africa working with the organization known as Sea Change, through which master student Gareth Fee was conducting research on octopus habitat and diet. I was completely enthralled to be invited as part of the project, seeing as I not only got to hang out with my octopus teacher Star Craig, but I was also able to work with an organism that I have had a strong interest in for years. However, I found that I still had the flexibility in my schedule to pursue other interests as well. One interest was finally obtaining my dive masters. I was lucky enough to be introduced to the head of Pisces Dive Shop, Mike Norgie, who runs the intern program and trains students from open water to dive master or instructor. Being a dive master and training myself, I really was able to help teach numerous classes to outside students and interns alike. As I did more of this, I realized how much I was enjoying being able to not only help others, but use my unique experiences and perspective as the scholar to assist them. Thankfully, I was able to take my budding desire further as I got the chance to connect with several other marine-focused outreach groups. One of these groups was an organization known as Shark Spotters. It was incredible to work with a team of people that was so enthusiastic about ocean education and conservation. During the time I spent with them there, we were able to conduct beach cleanups, visit the aquarium, perform fish dissections, and take the students to an ocean tide pool where some were getting in the salt water for the first time. It was so inspiring to see the students learn so much and having fun while doing it, that in addition, I was able to partner up with another group called Save Our Seas. Through them, I ended up helping more students get underwater for the first time in the Pisces swimming pool. Lastly, I was able to get involved with an organization known as Waves for Change that teaches minority students from inner city schools not only to surf, but to become environmental leaders so that they might take those skills with them back to their communities. While I was able to do so much more, yet still not enough during my time there, overall I had an amazing experience meeting all of the incredible people and students, and I can't wait to come back in the near future. Now, as my year comes to a close, I've realized how important and impactful each experience during my time as the Rolex Scholar has been. I can't thank each person that has helped me along my journey enough. While I came into the year wanting to know more about diving, research, and outreach, I have learned the most about myself, who I am, and what I can bring to this world. One of the reasons I began this journey is to encourage others to pursue opportunities and experience the underwater world, no matter how impossible it seems or the challenges it brings. Hence, this scholarship year has helped me come to realize that outreach is what I'm extremely passionate about. And after this year, I plan on completing my instructor course and hope to eventually start my own program so that I can continue to be a representative for others. Looking back through my year, I can safely say nothing has prepared me more than this opportunity. Despite all the challenges, setbacks, and turn of events that have transpired, I'm still here. I've been able to come out stronger, I've navigated treacherous waters, and though I've dived through a sea of adversity this year, I made it through. And as a new chapter of my life begins, it has become my deepest desire that I help others do the same.